What's up, everyone? Dave Fernandez here. Welcome to the Coach Your Way show. This is episode number 10 of our interview series, What It Takes to Be a Coach. And today we have a very special guest coming to us from Michigan, Vickie Gould. How you doing, Vickie?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for accepting my invitation to being on the show. So Vickie is well known for being the warts lady, and she's a storytelling, marketing, and book coach. Now, how did you come up with this huge title for yourself?
Well, it kind of goes back to when people say, oh, how did you become a book coach? And I say, it kind of found me because I was originally a health coach. And people kept saying, well, how are you growing your community? How are you getting these people? And it was all through storytelling. And so I switched over to the business side, storytelling and marketing. People found out I had 2 best-selling books. Now I started getting people asking me about, can you coach me on your books? Can you coach me on your books? And I said, no, I don't coach people on writing books. We just do storytelling and marketing. And one of my friends said, why don't you do that? And it made me think, and I call it my big duh moment. He said, and why? Because books, they're inherently marketing pieces, and there's a bunch of storytelling in it. So what is the difference?
That's right.
And that's where the book coaching part was born.
That's awesome. So you're saying you used to be a health coach, and
Yes.
I guess my question is, like, when did you actually experience the call to be a coach for the first time?
Yeah, well, I think you know a little bit about my backstory with chronic Lyme disease. So I fought with that for a long time. I was misdiagnosed, and I thought that my calling was, I went through this journey and I learned so much. I became a master herbalist in the process and all. And I thought my calling was to go and heal the world. I was like, I'm going to heal the whole entire world. And then I realized that it wasn't through that method. That, storytelling is very healing. Writing your book is very therapeutic. That's what a lot of my clients will say. And so not only is it really great for them to heal some of their past stories, but then also to share those stories for people who can then benefit from what they've learned. So I realized that my mission is still to heal the world, but it's in a different way through books and storytelling.
That's awesome. Something I really wanted to ask you, because I was on your website, looking at your videos, hearing your story, reading about you and everything. And one thing that struck me as very interesting was your how you used shoes to help you heal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's funny because most people who follow me always know that I show up to events and things in some crazy heels. I like them to be very unique. And at one time through my Lyme, because I had vertigo, there's a lot of pain associated with it. I was really in bed 16 to 18 hours a day. So I felt like there was nothing more for me in life. I wasn't worth, fancy clothes, nice things. I would just go buy 25-cent clothes, 50-cent shoes at garage sales or Goodwill or something like that, because I had nowhere to go, right? I have always been obsessed with shoes all my life. I love clothes. I love shoes. But at that time, I thought, why am I holding on to all these shoes? There's no reason for me to hold on to these shoes. So I got rid of them all except one pair that I still have, and I'll probably never get rid of them just because the meaning. It was one pair that I thought, but I really like these, so I'm just going to keep those. Well, as I got better, there came a day that I thought, you know what? I think I can do this again. I'm feeling a little better. Let me go buy myself a pair of heels. My family thought I was going to kill myself on these. They're like, no, you can't. You can't. They knew all about like the vertigo. I was like tilted like this when I'd walk, but that had like kind of gone away. Yeah. And so now when I hit certain milestones in my coaching, I buy myself a pair of shoes. The last pair of shoes was a pair of Versace's that are like platform heels. They're really crazy looking. I did get myself a pair of Kate Spade tennis shoes, but my very first pair was a pair of sandals with roses on them. And I got that during my certification program when I started hitting some, income milestones.
Awesome. What's your background? What were you doing before coaching?
Oh, goodness. Well, when I graduated from high school, I wanted to go to art school, but my mom said, no way. And, being the dutiful Asian daughter, I was like, okay, I'm not allowed to do that. She thought I'm going to be a poor artist out there someplace. Funny thing was, I always had side hustles that were art related, but I went to school at University of Michigan, got a degree in actuarial math, ended up in computers, became a statistician for Comerica Bank, and then became a stockbroker. Got into mortgages and stuff like that. And then I got sick, and then I was basically unemployable, like with all the accommodations that I need, sitting, standing, and all that stuff. There's no job that I really could have. But again, at that point, after I got through Lyme disease and I was a lot better, I still have issues from Lyme, but I was good enough to go do something. I thought, like I said, that my mission was to go heal the world.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your transition mindset wise, like from, where you were into now a new career, something. I mean, you're no stranger to, I guess, jumping around and having a lot of things going on and studying all these different things. But I want to know, like, how did you come into that mindset of, what, I'm going to go out there and change the world?
Right. There was a time during Lyme disease that I thought, I have to take my life into my own hands. Either I was going to commit suicide or I was going to figure out how to get better. Those were my two choices, because I didn't want to go on the way that it was. But the thing was, it wasn't that I wanted to die. It was that I didn't want to go on the way things were. And at that point, I had to really think about what mattered, what I wanted. And then once I got on the other side of it, I decided I wanted to live life no regrets. I didn't want to look back all the time and say, I wish I would have, I could have, or, all of those things, because I spent a lot of time, during that 16 to 18 hours laying in bed, I spent a lot of time reflecting on the times where I put myself last, the times where I said I would do it later. After the kids grow up, I can go travel. When I'm older, I'll go see Paris. That had been always my thing. From high school, learning French, I wanted to go to Paris. And I thought, I can't travel. I can't sit in the airplane. And then once I got through it, I said, you know what? No more regrets. I'm not saying no to myself. I need to set different boundaries. And that's when a lot of the mindset stuff changed, that I knew that I could take control of all of those things. My mom is very much one of those people who's like, life is about luck and you just have to be at the right place at the right time. My dad loves Murphy's Law. He thinks it's hilarious. And so there was always a little bit of this, life is hard and then you die. And there was something that never sat well with me on that. And once I started doing more personal development, got my coaching certification and all that stuff, I realized why that didn't set well with me all those years was because inside my soul and spirit knew that that wasn't true, that there was something more, that we get to decide, that there are so many things in our world that we have more choices about than we think we have choices about. So I think that was the biggest mindset thing that changed, as well as, the part of that was knowing that the doctor doesn't dictate what happens to my life. I get to dictate. And there was a big turning point during those times.
That's amazing. When I was listening to your story, and you were mentioning the fact that you were reading these books of people that, had healed, right?
Yeah.
In spite of whatever the doctor said. And I am, 100%, with you on that. I think that doctors are, their status in our society is overrated. They're just people that have read some books about the body and they take educated guesses, but that's about it, in spite of all the technology and science that they can have, but still educated guesses, because the power of the mind, which for one reason or another, they just don't want to go there. Science doesn't want to go there necessarily, even though, obviously a lot of things have come out and some tests and stuff, validating, our power to heal. But imagine what that would do to their industry, we didn't need them anymore, which we don't. But anyway, So I'm 100% behind you with that, and good for you. I am
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
honored to meet you. Someone proof of that, of the
Yeah.
power of the mind, of resilience, and of having a mission and a goal and something to strive for. You know, in
Hmm.
spite of everything that's going on around us. You know, in reality today. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so good for you, Vickie. Good for you.
Thank you.
Tell me, so once you start on this journey as a coach,
Mhm.
you know, we all experience a ton of challenges, right? You know, it all starts with the mindset and all, but it's a learning curve. And,
Mhm.
you know, we all tend to hit a lot of bumps on the road. What were some of these bumps for you getting started as a coach?
Oh goodness, I think it part of it was a transition from that mindset of give it away for free, give
Mm,
away those first sessions for free. There was a time that I finally just drew a line in the sand and said there are no more free sessions. You know, I know a lot of new coaches will do that, give away the first free session or the first few or whatever. Very rarely did that ever turn into a paying client for me. That brings you a bunch of freebie seekers, you know.
yeah.
Um, so that was one thing, was I finally decided I was not going to do that anymore. I got my packages more in order, I guess. One of the things that my coach had told me, and you know, I'm kind of a rebellious little person. Um, she said to me, she's like, you cannot do a group program until you do this, this, and this, and this, and you have to coach one-on-one clients. And I was never about that. You know, my background is in financial things, in numbers, annuitizing your business. Like all of that was very, very much something that I wanted to happen in my business. And I didn't want to trade time for money. I wanted to leverage that. So I really didn't want that many one-on-one clients. I wanted a group program. And so I kind of defied her and created my group program. And that was one of the first offers that I had. You know, I did do some one-on-one, don't get me wrong. I definitely did do one-on-one, but I launched that group program way before I was allowed to.
I love that. You know, it's funny. One of the things that, because I started the same way, you know, giving out the free sessions and stuff,
Yeah,
um, and in exchange for testimonials. For anyone
sure.
watching, it there's I think there's a time for that. You know, when you're
Mhm.
getting started and getting your stuff in order, you're finding your voice, your coaching style, and all. You know, but again, just like Vickie said, you know, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, from now on, no more of this. I got enough testimonials and stuff from the people that I was, helping out for free, and that's it.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot what I was gonna say. I
I do
forgot
that
about,
all the time.
yeah. The group coaching thing. You
Yes.
know, when you transition to that, one of the things that I realized recently, after doing one-on-one coaching for a couple of years, I I was listening to. I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brunson.
Mhm.
Okay, the guy from ClickFunnels.
Yep.
So the funny thing for him and how he structures things, even though he's not a coach like we are per se,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
still coaching, marketing, it's
Yeah.
all consulting, helping other people. He puts his one-on-one at the very last, you
Mhm.
know, uh, portion of his funnel or whatever you want to call it, right? He's
Mhm.
like the ultimate thing to be had by the clients, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being the first thing like we
Right.
all are. Sometimes we put ourselves, and I've heard that uh what you just alluded to,
Mhm.
when people say you have to start one-on-one and then you graduate to the other thing or whatnot. And the reality is that you can do whatever you want, whatever
Yep.
works, if
Yeah.
you can make it work, or if you feel in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
Towards doing group coaching instead of one-on-one, you're leveraging your time and your advice, and you can make more money and
Mhm.
everything because of that, right? And
Yep.
make your time more scarce and more valuable
Right.
for people to have. I just wanted to
Mhm.
add that real quick, even though this interview is about you now. So, what do you think, in your experience, is the best thing about being a coach?
Oh, I get to call my own shots.
Mm,
Like, one of the reasons why I had gone through that many different things, number one, I get bored after a while, but number two, I don't like people telling me what to do, in case you didn't figure that one out yet.
yeah,
So, being able to control my schedule, decide when I do things, decide when I get up, decide when I am done with the day,
right.
you know, that's a thing that, like, health wise for me, I guard a lot of my time with certain things. I don't get up most of the time until 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I soak in the bathtub every day, sometimes for 2 hours. Um,
I'll edit that out. Don't worry.
um, actually, it's funny because my daughter says, "Would you stop talking about your bath time
Yeah,
on your social media?"
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
everybody knows about my baths. It is just something that I do, just like the shoes and just like some of the other things. They just know this about me. Um, but I guard my time, because if I don't, I know what's going to happen. And it has happened in the last 4 years. There are certain times of more stress, of a product launch, of things going on, where I have let my health ritual slide. So I know how important that is for me to keep functioning the way that I do, so that I can keep traveling, so that I can be as pain free as possible, so that so some of those things, when coaches go, "Oh, I got to get up at 4 a.m. and I'm burning the midnight oil," and so I always look at it and go, "This is the worst advice ever." Worst advice ever, because the only way to optimize your physical body and your mental sharpness is by getting sleep.
Yeah, for sure. I
Mhm.
strongly agree. I've never been. I'm a morning person though, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get up at 4 to do whatever.
Yeah.
That's not me. I still honor my 7
Yeah.
hours,
That's
whatnot.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I feel great during the
Yeah.
day and stuff. If I can sleep a little bit more, I will. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Vicky,
Yeah.
um, somebody who's watching this, they're thinking, they're
Mhm.
curious about becoming a coach.
Mhm.
Um, they don't know what to do. They don't know what the
Mhm.
first step is. A
Yep.
lot of people out there that just think that they'll go through a certification program, and that's the first step and whatnot.
Mhm.
And what I found is that they use that as an excuse to not get started.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on that? And how could
Yeah.
someone who's just thinking about it, you know, uh, get started? In your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As much as we're not required to have certifications to be a coach, I have gone back numerous times to the things that I have learned in
Mhm.
my coaching certification. So it has so much value. It gives you confidence in knowing that this is uh, the way to do it, so at least some certain things, right? Um, and so I think it helps with some of that confidence as well, but I don't believe in having 50 zillion initials behind your name. Although, like I said, I'm a beautiful Asian and I like to collect my trophies and my certifications and stuff, and I have a bazillion of them. But I think what's more important is actually going out there and doing something with it and taking the action, because it's just like that quote, right? No matter how slow you go, you're lapping everybody who's on the couch. And too many people wait until they feel like they're perfect. Let me lose some weight. Let
Mhm.
me fix my hair. Let me get a photo shoot. Let me get my website up. Let me all of this stuff, so that they can just boom, go, "Oh, it's all perfect and pretty and fabulous." And you don't need that. You don't need all those things. You just need to have something that somebody else wants. You have to be confident that you can deliver the benefits that you're talking about. And one of the biggest things that I see people doing all the time, my book coaching newbies will do this as well. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to start a coaching program, and I'm going to do it or do a membership site or something like that. I'm going to do it for $100 or something like that. I'm going to get 1,000 people in it.
Yeah.
And they have 0 people on their list. They have not been on social media. They have no following.
Right.
And while it sounds great, and I think that starting out, you feel a little safer in some ways
Mhm.
with an offer like that, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And now I'm going to contradict what I said earlier about group and one-on-one, but get out there. You don't have to have a group program. You don't have to have it, oh, I need to create this, or I need to have a package, or I need to just start with one-on-one. If you've got no other idea, start with a one-on-one, and don't price yourself at some crazy $25 or $50 an hour thing. It's not about hours. It's about your value and what you're delivering, the benefits. I never calculate hours because so many coaches forget you had to buy your lights, you had to buy your computer, you had to do your certification program, you had to do your advertising, all the time that you're spending on social media. Everybody seems to forget about those things, and this is not counted. And now you're just counting the hours that you're coaching. That's not enough. It's totally not enough. So get a higher ticket program, because you need fewer people to hit that 5 or 10K mark that you want.
Yeah.
And then once you have enough of a following, then you can create some of the lower priced packages and get 100 people in right away, get 1,000 people in right away. You got to know your numbers. Numbers.
Yeah, and that's great advice, because I also have a financial background, and the numbers is where it's at. I mean, business wise, I'm not talking about necessarily about coaching, but if you understand your numbers, and just to elaborate real quick on this, because I just recently did a video that did very well. People received it very well because I was explaining that, and it seems to me that most people they're just not aware of,
or they don't want to be aware. They're scared of it.
Maybe, right. But when you explain, like, okay, listen, you need to understand that, if you are just going to do one-on-one and you're going to charge whatever, 20, 50, $100 an hour or per session or whatever, in order to hit a certain mark. For example, if you, let's say you have a salary of like, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, you need to replace that check, right? So if you grab that amount, let's say $5,000, something more doable, something that just pays for your expenses, right? Your bills on a monthly basis. You grab $3,000 and you say, well, how can I generate this? And you divide it by the amount of people that you would need, based on your fees, and then you go to work on that, on generating those many people. It's not about, like you said, it's not about focusing on all these other things, the website and all this stuff. It's about focusing on exactly what has to happen for you to have a viable business, and that it can only be done by knowing your numbers, because it gives you a very specific target to hit, that if you hit it, or if you start hitting it, you have a very good benchmark there. You know where you're going to, what you're working towards.
Right.
And, so thank you for bringing that up. That's something that a lot of people.
I love talking numbers and statistics. Numbers are your friends, especially the ones with the dollar signs in front of them.
Those are my best friends. It's true. And I think a lot of people have this programming because of math in school and how much people, but it's not like that. I always say, Warren Buffett, right? He's always said that the reason for his success was 6th grade math. That's it. None of the other fancy stuff. And, it just, if you can know how to add and subtract and divide or whatever, you're good. You're going to be successful. How, not how, sorry. Do you think that anyone can become a coach?
Probably not.
Why?
I think it takes a certain personality. I think it takes a certain work ethic. And I'm not about hard work and hustle. So don't take work ethic as in working 60, 80 hours. I'm not about that. I'm about ease and flow and doing it in as few hours as possible. But it is some of those things. And what I've noticed with a lot of my most successful friends who are my besties are that they are really able to merge and balance their creative side, so the feminine side and the masculine side, not like men and women, but masculine being the analytical, the action taker, the strategy, the plan, and the execution. the feminine side, meaning the creative part, coming up with new ideas and all of that. When they are able to merge those two together, those have been the most successful people that I see. The problem with the people who are in feminine flow all the time is that they come up with fantastic ideas and then they never execute. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then they go, but only if and they never do that. So I do have some friends from different programs that I've been in who are still at the same place that they were 3-4 years ago. And my own analytical mind looks at them and go, okay, what's the difference? Because I'm really curious that way. What's the difference? And this is one of the things that I have really noticed is that people who use the right brain and left brain, the female and the masculine side, those are the people who seem to do very, very well.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that someone with a specific background or certain backgrounds are more beneficial, for coaches or not entrepreneurs? I don't want to get there, but like for coaches, is it important to have a specific background in your mind?
I don't necessarily think so. I think skills are things that anybody can learn. And if you're willing to learn them, then you can learn them. One of the things that my mom used to say is, if you're willing to learn, you can read a book and you can follow instructions, you can do anything that you want in life.
Yeah, for sure. What makes a great coach?
You have to want to be a great coach.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you need to set your ego aside. I think there are a lot of people, and I'm going to say me as well, we have a people pleasing part of us. Mm-hmm. We want to be liked, right? We want to be accepted. We want to feel like we've accomplished something or helped somebody with something. And that comes from the ego, and that can get in the way because it's not about making your client happy, making somebody else like you. It's about what's the best thing for the client. And sometimes that means you got to have hard conversations with them. You have to tell them what you see. One of my clients, she would always second guess every decision that she made. She'd decide on the book and then she'd be like, oh, I'm not really sure. She'd decide on her book cover. Let me go ask 20 people. I'm not sure anymore. She would decide on the next thing and she'd go, oh, Vickie, but is that the right thing? And I'm like, okay, we've talked about this 5 times, right? And that's the people pleaser. That's the part that's like not sure of yourself, the confidence and things like that. And now I've lost my train of thought about that. And I think that by going back and forth, that really kept her from reaching the potential. And that's where, this is where this was going, that I had to have the hard conversation with her and say, this is a trend. This is a habit. This is something that keeps coming up that I see. And you have to point those things out, regardless if you think that person's gonna take it well, except I'm not saying don't be tactful, or don't be loving about it. But sometimes you don't want to always tell somebody you see this huge, like glaring thing that they don't see that's keeping them small. Luckily, when I did have the conversation with her, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, and now I know. And so the next time we talked about something, she's like, okay, and I'm working on not second guessing myself so much.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes, not sometimes, I think most of the times, because we cannot see ourselves, right? So that's the work of the coach, where we have to be super honest because the person needs to be able to see that, show them what they cannot see, right? That's, I guess, more about the cliche among coaches. Talking about coaching other people, how do you go about creating a great coaching session with someone?
Oh gosh, the great coaching session actually comes before the coaching session.
Okay.
It's in the initial conversation or conversations and your contract that you have with them, sharing, what to expect, what we're going to be doing, setting the boundaries. I I learned very early on, I made some assumptions that I shouldn't have, right? So I gave somebody boxer access at one time. Oh my gosh, that was the most horrible thing, because why? I had all these friends who were doing it. I thought this is a great thing to add into the one-on-one coaching session. What a value add. Yeah. And my coaching friends had boundaries set in theirs, and I didn't, because I just threw it out there and said, oh, and I'll give you Voxer access. Well, then it became coaching time with Vickie in Voxer. And that's not what it was for. It was for, simple questions that you could just have a short dialogue. It should have been, hey, if there's something that you ask me in Voxer, that is going to be a longer conversation, we'll attack that at our next coaching session, not 20-minute Voxers going back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's not like every hour of every day, because that's what I was doing. It's not over the weekend. I once had a client who was upset with me because I was not going to respond to her email over Saturday and Sunday. Okay, you can be upset, but I'm not answering your email over Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
That doesn't mean never. It's like, if you feel like it, if you're on, yes, but you also don't want to train your clients to expect certain things. And I think that was part of it, the training your client on what the expectations are. And I learned that the hard way.
We all have. We all have. You're not.
Yeah. It's like Vickie's on call 24/7 now.
Funny that you mentioned this, training your client, because I think it's something that I never did that necessarily. At least not purposefully. Like, maybe I set a little bit of boundaries and stuff, but never thought of it as, you have to train your client on how to be coached. And that's a phenomenal concept there. Would you share one of your coaching techniques with us, and what type of result would you expect to get, from technique?
Goodness. All right. So one of the people that I really love, and I know you're going to ask me this question later, so I won't give it all away. But
Okay.
one of the people that I really love, and I love following her, is Byron Katie. Mm-hmm. So she has a process. She has a book called Loving What Is, and it basically asks you this limiting belief or fear that you have. Mm-hmm. What would your life look like if it didn't exist? So number one, is this fear founded, or is it some random thing that you just decided, right? Is it true 100% of the time, or can you poke holes in it being true? If you can, then maybe your life would be better without that belief. What would happen if you turn that belief around? And maybe where does this belief come from? And so you can kind of overcome that. Yeah.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Could you share a couple of books that have either transformed your life, or that you gift a lot, or that you think anyone should read?
Yeah. Well, of course they should read mine. And I should have had it sitting right here, and I don't. That's bad. That's bad. So my book is called Easy Writer, and it's 10 steps to writing a best-selling book that wows your readers and turns them into paying clients. So that was my 10th best-selling book, and it's about writing best-selling books. So that's number one. Number two is, the book that I was just referring to, Byron Katie. The book is called Loving What Is. Mm-hmm. And then the third book is The Big Leap, and that one's by Gay Hendricks.
I'm a huge fan of that book myself.
I love that book. Mm-hmm.
I actually, did I get it? So I read that book like 10 years ago or so, and I had like a whole notebook of notes just from that book, and all. And that notebook got stolen from me because it was in a backpack. I was at the beach, and I was like, no, right? Anyway, no big deal. But every time somebody mentions that book, or I see it, I lost all those notes, all this time, like meditating on all these thoughts or whatnot.
Oh goodness.
What do you want your legacy to be, Vickie?
Oh, wow. What do I want my legacy to be? It sounds really generic, but I really just want it to be that my life meant something. Sometimes I tell my clients, we weren't meant to go through life like rinse and repeat. We weren't meant to go through life like, meh, you know, we weren't meant to be tumbleweeds to just pass through.
Mhm.
And whether our impact is with our direct family, like our children and our spouse, and maybe, you know, a little bit of extended family, or whether it's an impact in the community, or whether it's an impact all the way around the world, every impact is important. And for me, I just want at the end of my life for somebody to say, you know what, that really meant something to me. That helped me out with something. I don't care if it was small or if it was huge or anything like that. I just want the people who I've touched, that they remembered, that they're like, you know what, that was important for me.
You know, Vickie,
Mm.
this interview
Yeah.
was important for me. So
Oh,
much. I already learned so much from you.
thank
So
you.
wanted to
Thank
give you
you.
that and add to the list, your legacy list.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the work you do,
Yeah.
who you do it for, and what type
Mhm.
of impact you're making.
Well, I work with some amazing coaches who want to make a bigger impact, grow their reach, create a legacy, and turn their readers into clients through writing best-selling books. So that is the main thing that I do. You know, I also do storytelling and marketing. I help people through that. And a lot of it is very much similar with a book as it is with a product. Behind the scenes, a lot of things we work on is personal development, mindset. I'm a law of attraction practitioner as well, you know, so all of those things. But it's really about writing that book, growing your reach, and creating clients out of those books so that you can hit your next level, whatever that next level is for you. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. How can people learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So they can go to my website at vickiegould.com. Just
Mhm.
make sure that you spell it right.
I'll put a link to it down below.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
figured you would. My daughter's like, wow, I wish your name was short, because she has a long name. Her name's long. She's like, I wish my name was like yours. I said, yeah, but mine's constantly misspelled, the first name and the last name. Just because it's short doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah. So that I am on Facebook way more than I'd like to admit. So that's probably a good place to connect with me, is on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Write Your Biz Book
Mhm.
that if anybody is interested, love to have you there.
Awesome. I'll put a link to those three things. Your
Awesome.
website. I'll put a link
Yep.
to your book. I'll put a link to
Yep.
your Facebook group and your
Awesome.
Facebook profile.
Awesome. Thank
Vickie,
you.
I cannot thank you enough for your time and your kindness with your wisdom. Has been phenomenal.
Thank you for having me, David.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Until next time,
Yep.
guys, stay safe out there, and let's get out there and start changing lives one session at a time. All right. See you
All
next
right.
time, guys. Bye.
Bye.